So one of the ways we resist or stop making space, or we stop allowing possibility, is that we make vows. We make energetic promises, if you will, or sometimes I call them decisions with wings, that say, I will never let that happen again, or I will always do this, or that's not allowed in my life anymore. And we make sometimes these promises in a moment of intense emotion that we're not really seeing the big picture. And we'll say something out loud or even internally with a lot of energy and a lot of power, and it starts to live. It takes on a life of its own. And years later, we're like, why do I always do that? Why is it that when I'm standing in front of a room, that there are certain things that aren't okay? And then when we look, we've made a promise that says, that can't happen, or I can't risk that. So one of the vows I made was, I alluded to humiliation and being an emotion that I really had to turn and face. And silly story, because a lot of our memories, they can be a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, or they can be like Brandon's, or a whole series of traumas through life. It doesn't matter. It's the energetic impact and imprint that it leaves. And so in 3rd grade, we were in music class, and back then they taught us to square dance. And so we're square dancing, which I think is kind of cool. I like to dance, but I don't know my right from my left. Or at least I don't know it very quickly. I have to stop and think about it. Well, that wasn't working so well in this, you got to know your right from your left and which way you're going, square dancing little circle we had. So I kept messing up the circle, and the teacher got frustrated. And so, and I have a lot more wisdom about it today than I did back then, but she called me up to the front of the room, and she took out one of those big fat black markers and put a big R on my hand. And in that moment, I made one hell of a promise that I was never going to let that happen again. No way, no how. So I couldn't look stupid in any way, shape, or form. I couldn't have somebody laugh at me. There was no way that I was going to risk not looking like I had it together. And I went through the rest of my life having to have all the answers. Went through electrical engineering at Michigan. Struggled. Would not go see a professor and ask a question, because that meant I didn't know something. That meant I might look stupid. Then I got into the business world, and I'd get into a meeting and I'd have an idea, but I'm like, I don't know if that'll work. Nope, won't share it. If I absolutely knew I had it figured out and I had the answers, then I was more than willing to stand up. So I got away with it. I was successful. With the amount of work and energy that I had to do, and the number of missed opportunities that I had, or even take it into a relationship and trying to be playful with a partner, you can't laugh at me. So I can't play with you, not in the way that I would if I didn't have that vow in place. And so one of the processes that we're going to do this morning is start to look at some of these vows that we've put in place for a variety of reasons. And they can basically show up in a moment like that, where we've made a choice in the core of emotion to not go somewhere again, to not do something again, to not let something happen. There's a lot of us that when our hearts get hurt or broken, and we say, I'm not letting anybody in again. I'm not willing to go through that heartbreak again. Or somebody leaves and we feel abandoned. And some part of us says, I'll never let somebody leave again, so we're the one that leaves. Because we don't want to take a chance on them leaving. Sometimes we make the vows consciously. We make marriage vows. and then life's going different paths. And those vows are no longer appropriate, even though they were made very consciously. But we've never done anything to go in and clear those vows out. They were made in a powerful emotion, love and joy. And they stuck. So now, there was a story of one guy that had made his marriage vows and realized 10 years later there was a way he was still taking care of his ex-wife 5-6 years after they'd been divorced, because underlying he was still living true to that promise that he would care for her. And yet it wasn't appropriate anymore. So it doesn't matter how they showed up, whether they were great vows and promises in the moment, or ones that were never really going to be supportive. There's an opportunity to start to get underneath and clear those out so that the insidiousness and usually the unconsciousness of why we're doing something can fall away. So anybody have a sense that they've maybe made some vows or promises or decisions with wings? Yeah. Now? Can't see any possibility of that.